guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ashley and this is Six Lipsticks. Do you guys know what? It has been a year since I last looked through all my palettes to see how much I used them, and subsequently...
That sounds way too professional.
Okay guys, let's just start over. So each year I keep a tally of how often I use my eyeshadow palettes, and it really helps me at the end of the year point. I start in June, end in June. It really helps me to decide how I'm going to declutter my eyeshadow palettes. Like I'm like, oh hey, I haven't touched you in a year, you need to go. Because at this point I have, let's look at stats from last year. So from June 2018 through 2019, I had 54 palettes with only 151 uses. I have a feeling that this year is going to be bad with the COVID because I didn't go out a lot. Okay guys, so in a year's span, I went from 54 palettes to 70. And that was 54 palettes before my declutter. So I have definitely, my collection has grown incredibly. Okay, now let's see how many times I used these eyeshadow palettes. I'm kind of nervous right now. This past year, I've only touched eyeshadow palettes 95 times. I'm sorry guys, that is so sad, especially with how often I feel like I have to buy eyeshadow palettes. If YouTube was my full-time job, I would absolutely love to do a fun new look every single day. But the thing is, I have to get up at 6 in the morning for work. And sometimes I don't feel like getting up earlier and putting on eyeshadow. I just basically do my makeup essentials. So I need to make it a YouTube goal to wear eyeshadow more often. Okay, so these are sorted by brands if I purchased them before June of 2019. Then after that, I just add the eyeshadow palette to the list. So let's go through all of our old palettes that we've owned before the past year. And this is gonna help us decide if we need to get rid of something. Did I ask you guys to subscribe to the channel yet? If I didn't, please subscribe. That'd be awesome. Also, if you're into this type of video style, give this video a thumbs up. Okay. So, A for Elmar. Where are you, Elmar? Okay, so, ooh. I have not used this in the past year. I remember liking this palette. I do remember liking this palette, but the thing is I'm pretty positive I have all these shades in another palette, and if I haven't touched it in the past year, I should probably just say no. Okay, so you're gonna go here in the go away pile. Next is Anastasia Beverly Hills. Let's see what we have here. We have the Modern Renaissance palette. This has been used twice in the past year. That is very unfortunate because I do love this palette and we're going to keep it. Next is the Anastasia Norvina palette. Mean, don't judge me. Just don't judge me. I haven't touched this palette in the past year. It's obvious I have a problem. I buy eyeshadow palettes and I don't use them. Just like I like collecting them. No, honestly, see, look at this look I'm wearing tonight. See, I like playing with eyeshadow. I just don't always have time to do it. Next is the Anastasia Subculture palette. I have used this once this year, so there is that. But I feel like Subculture is the worst of the Anastasia palettes, so I should use Norvina before I touch Subculture. Moving on to BH Cosmetics, here is the Foil Eye palette. And this guy has not been used in the past year. But I feel like it offers some great different colors that I may not have in my collection. I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. The maybe I'll just put right behind me. Next is Buxom Cosmetics. So here is this little custom guy that I made. I have a feeling I'm going to be swatching a lot in this video. This one, did I use this one? No, I haven't, because I've only used it I think once. And it's a custom palette I made. I chose the freaking shadows and I don't use this. It was $40. I've used it one time. That was such a waste of money and I don't think I'm going to use it again.
I hope Jeff does not watch this video.
Boxon is going in the going away pile. BH Festival palette is my most colorful palette that I own. So I am going to keep this. I have only used it once in the past year, but it's great to have these colors on hand, and they are really fun colors I don't have anywhere else. Okay guys, ColourPop Individual, the Super Shock shadows. Let's take a look in my vanity drawer. So I just went through all those and I'm all swatched up now. So my ColourPop Individual Super Shock Shadows I've used 4 times in the past year. Oh, I'm really zoomed in. Here are the shades that I'm getting rid of. Basically, these are shadows that are drying out. I have noticed with this Super Shock formula that if you've had them for maybe like over 2 years, I would say, they begin to dry out and get crumbly and the pigment just isn't as good. So those are in the throwaway pile. Actually, I'm lying. I'm not gonna throw these away. I'm just gonna give them away for free to my friends, unless they're super expensive palettes. I need some makeup wipes right now. Where were we? Guys, thank you for hanging out through this video. It's going to be a kind of long one because I have a lot of palettes and we have to do this together. Next by ColourPop is the Yin to My Yang. This collection did not come in a palette. They are singles and I have them in my Z palette by Tarte. This little section right there. I definitely feel like this is like gives off a lot of like modern, edgy, cool vibes. So I want to keep this. I have only used it once in the past year, but I remember one time I wore it, my husband was like, "You look really cool, babe." And I was like, I know. It's obviously some good shades right there. Next palette is the ColourPop You Had Me at Hello. This guy I've used 4 times over the past year. And I mean, to hit 4, that's pretty good. And I love ColourPop, so we're going to keep that. Next is the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. Yes. Friendcation palette. And this guy, I just mentioned in a recent video about how I felt like the colors are really random. You have your nudes and then you just have like bam, blue. And I just feel like I have so many nude palettes and I don't need like sparkly blue in my life right now. So I'm going to get rid of that one. And I haven't used it in the past year if I didn't mention that. Next we are on to Huda Desert Dusk palette. Huda has gotten like a lot of attention, I feel like, in the past 2 years. I just feel like they've really become like a well-known brand and everyone kind of wants to try their products. So unfortunately, I've only used this palette once in the past year, which is very unfortunate because there's some wicked awesome eyeshadows in this palette. I think it's just because there's so many warm shades and like they're like bold warm shades and I just don't really tend to go that direction with my makeup. Next is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty. This one's so old that I don't even have a year dated when I got it. This used to be my go-to nude palette until Nudie Patootie came along. This one I have not used in the past year. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a red flag. We're going to put this in the maybe pile. Next is the Laura Lee Nudie Patootie palette. I have used this 9 times in the past year, and I think that is the highest used eyeshadow palette. And just in case you missed the 10 other times I've showed this off on my channel, there you go. We're definitely keeping that. Lime Crime, Where Are You? Venus 3 palette. I remember like feeling like I just have to have this palette, and whenever it went on sale on Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, I was like, I'm going to use this all the time. I have not used it in the past year. I feel like even though I want to keep this, if I haven't used a palette in the last year, at a minimum it at least needs to go in the maybe pile. Lorac Pro 3. The Lorac Pro 3. This is like my second favorite go-to nude palette after the Nudie Patootie. This one has had 3 uses in the past year, and I am going to keep that. Lorac Soft 2 Smoky, my little baby palette. Where are you? So this little guy was my first ever mini high-end purchase when I was a poor soul. It's actually, believe it or not, still got 2 uses this year, even though it's so old. It just is a very quick, easy, natural look. Like, I know exactly how it's going to turn out. I can do a look with this in like 10 seconds. So that's like kind of like my work look sometimes. You know, just 2 times in the past year times. So Lorac Unzipped Gold palette. So this palette I don't use on its own, like by itself, because I don't know if I can really create a look with this. But I do go for these like shimmery golds and stuff. They're really pretty. I like to add them to looks with other eyeshadow palettes I create. I've only used this though 1 time in the past year, but I am going to keep it because I really enjoy it when I do use it. Morphe Boss Nude palette. I thought that this was more of a recent purchase, but I guess this was Christmas of 2018. So here we are. I have only used this 1 time ever, like not even just in the past year, but ever in my life. And I used it one time. I think I told you guys before, I don't know if it's this video, I'm just losing track. I filmed a few videos today. I'm not prone to big palettes because sometimes they overwhelm me, but I thought the colors in this palette were so gorgeous. I'm like, I might be able to do it this time. But when I did use this, I kind of felt like all the colors just faded together and it was kind of blah. The fact that it is still a pretty new palette, I've only used it one time ever, I'm not going to get rid of it. I need to give it more of a chance. So I am going to keep it. The Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. This is a pretty freaking sweet palette. A lot of people know this palette. I've used it 4 times in the past year. And I think I came up with one of my best selfies ever using this palette. NARS Phoebe? Oh, that's just like a little baby. Yeah, this is just one shade on its own. It is really pretty, but you know what? It's just too tiny. It gets lost in all of my stuff and I'm just never going to use it, so I'll add that to the giveaway pile. Pretty Vulgar Nightingale palette. This is kind of like my smoky eye palette when I want to make a smoky eye. I've used this twice in the past year. I'm going to keep this for now, but I really am kind of wanting to get into the Smoke Show palette by ColourPop, where it's basically like the grays, the cool shades that create a smoky eye. On my list, it looks like I had a Pure collab with BoxyCharm palette that I've already gotten rid of. The Pure Festival palette, I don't see that in here either. I think I got rid of that too. Wait, maybe, oh, I do have it. Here it is. See, I don't even know what I own. The Pure Festival Palette. This has not been used in the past year. And I am just not a huge fan of Pure Cosmetics in general, so I already have a Festival palette by BH Cosmetics. It's 10 times better than this, so I'm going to give this away as well. We're on to Tarte Dream Big palette. Dream big, but you're small. So these shades are very similar to, actually I'm just gonna lay out 3 palettes that look so identical. So these 3 palettes are very similar with a lot of the same shades. I mean, the 2 at the top there, they look almost exactly the same. And the sad thing is I like all these palettes because the color palette themselves, like these shades, just work so well for me. So there's none that I feel like, oh, I can easily get rid of. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna get rid of any of them. I know that's ridiculous, but I'm going to make it a priority to use. I already use You Had Me at Hello a lot. I'm not going to get rid of that one. It's between Too Faced Sugar Cookie and Tarte Dream Big. One of them has to go. I'm not going to get rid of one yet. I'm just going to use them more and see which one speaks to me. So we're going to keep Tarte Dream Big. Okay, Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Volume 3. This has not been used at all in the past year. I feel like with this palette, it's nude, but they're all shimmeries. And I feel like that's so pretty. Why haven't I used this? Okay, this will go in the maybe get rid of pile. Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. This palette has not been used at all in the past year, but it's my first high-end full-size palette. It means a lot to me. I'm going to keep it. Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. This one was a pretty hyped up release and I ended up getting it like a few months later when it went on sale. Oh, it's so freaking pretty, but I haven't used it this past year. I don't care that I haven't used it in the past year. I'm keeping this. Too Faced Gingerbread palette. This is a great palette for the fall. So many warm shades in here. This I've used only one time. That's better than none. Too Faced PB&J. Yes, I do have a lot of Too Faced. I used to be really into Too Faced. Not so much anymore. I'm actually kind of over Too Faced. But I do have the PB&J palette. And I have enjoyed looks I've created with this in the past. And I've used it once this past year as well. Too Faced Sugar Cookie. This is the one I was showing you guys that looks so much like the Tarte Dream Big palette. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to keep this and kind of have those two battle it out together. Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This is the, best smelling palette they've ever released. This has also only been used once. But when I use it again, I just really like it. Next is the Too Faced White Chocolate palette. I think we're almost done with Too Faced. So I remember when I filmed this video last year, I hadn't used this that whole year. I was like, I'm going to use this more, but I've only used it once now this year. But I'm still going to keep it because I just feel like the Too Faced palettes are so cute. And it's like a little collection that I own, and I can see myself putting some of these on display too. And this is like such a cool toned palette and so pretty. Okay, so we're moving on to Urban Decay. So here's a little custom palette that I made. It honestly is nothing special. I think I hadn't gotten rid of it because I'm like, I made it. Like, I don't want to get rid of it. But you know what? I don't think I've used this once in the past 2 years, so it is definitely going. I don't even feel bad about it. Oh, I did skip an Urban Decay. My Urban Decay Naked 3. This was a palette that I wanted for the longest time, and it went on sale Christmas of 2018, I think. I was able to get this half off, and this I have used once in the past year, but these are such pretty girly nudes. Like, I would definitely like to dig into this palette more, so I'm going to keep it. Urban Decay Vice palette. I'm not sure which one this is because my friend actually gave it to me. And I am going to pass it on to someone else and give it away to see if someone wants it. Kind of sad, but this is a big one too. It's taking up a lot of room in my vanity, and I just don't reach for it that often. I have not used it in the past year. Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This was one, honestly, I never should have got this palette. It was one that I never was interested in, but then it went on sale, and my friend had said good things about it, and I'm like, sure, why not? Let's just add it to the collection of 500 palettes. Believe it or not, this has been used twice in the past year. I think it was because it was fairly newer palette. I hear good things about it. I'm pretty sure it has a 5-star review online. I think I need to give this more of a chance before I consider getting rid of it. Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This has 3 uses over the past year, which is decent. I'm obviously going to keep this because it's my most ritzy, expensive, high-end palette that I own. Okay, and the last palette that is over a year old is the Winky Luxe Kitten palette. This is a palette that I really enjoy using. I've used it only 3 times the past year, but it's just a very girly, kind of like sassy palette. I feel like it's a going out palette without being too extra. Okay, so let's talk about all the palettes I bought in the past year. ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. I've used this guy 4 times in the past year, and I feel like that's pretty decent. I don't remember feeling like this is amazing, but everyone else says it's really amazing. I need to try and use it more often. Next is the Butter London Natural Goddess palette. I've used this twice in the past year, and I really enjoyed the looks I came up with this palette, so I'm going to keep it. Next are the Ace Beauty individual little shadows here. They look a lot like the ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I have used these once, and honestly, these shades, if they're not anything too like out of this world. Oh, that one is kind of out of this world. That one's really good. I just don't reach for these individuals so much, so I really have to like the shadow inside to keep them. Dang, these are freaking pretty shadows. I'm going to keep both of them. I thought I would at least be getting rid of the copper shade. Touch in Soul Killing Me Softly palette. I used this 3 times. This guy, I only used this 3 times because I was doing a full brand review on Touch in Soul, and I really wanted to know exactly like how this performed. Not a fan of it. I am going to give this one away. Violet Voss Essentials. This one has 2 uses. And a lot of the new stuff I have, you'll notice that I have a few uses because I like to test out my products as I purchase them or as they come in like a subscription box. So I mostly have tried everything out. This one has no shades that really stick out to me as being like really cool and like different from the rest of my collection. But it is my only Violet Voss palette, but that's not too big of a deal to me. I think I'm gonna say goodbye to this one. I have to get rid of more palettes because I need more room. Too Faced Festival palette. I have a Too Faced Festival palette? I have 3 festival palettes. So this one is super cutesy, but unfortunately I've only used this 1 time. The shades in here are really pretty. They're metallics I fell in love with when I saw them posted online. So I'm going to keep this and try to use it a little more this year. Next palette is the Pure Cosmetics Barbie palette. I don't like Pure Cosmetics. I have voiced that, but for some reason I feel like this palette is really good. Granted, I've only used it once and it was during a first impressions video with you guys. But I just remember thinking like, hey, like these looks are turning out really pretty. So next is the Huda New Nude Palette. Huda had like a crazy midsummer sale last year. And I was totally hyped last year. I have used this palette 4 times. And I don't remember feeling like amazed by it actually, but at the same time I feel like, well, it's a Huda palette and Huda's so expensive and just so many people like it. I just feel like it'd be weird to get rid of it. I know that's a lame excuse for keeping this palette, but obviously next year if it doesn't get used at all, I'll get rid of it. But it does have 4 uses this past year. Laura Lee Party Animal. This was like right during that scandalous time of her life when this released. So these are some crazy fluorescent shades. I only used this one time just to test it out. I'm gonna have to get rid of this one. I'm not gonna use those shades. I feel like I do have some pops of color other places in my collection as well. All right. Dose of Color Marvelous Mauves. This came in a boxy charm and it's a really simple small palette but great for like feminine nude look. I've used this twice and I do enjoy it. Tati Beauty, her first eyeshadow palette release. Bam! This palette is just made from the pressed glitters in it. I mean, everything else I'm just like, I have that, but the pressed glitters is what really makes this palette. And I have only used this 2 times. Next is the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Thunder palette. This came in a boxy charm and I must say I was kind of disappointed in this palette because BoxyCharm always promotes their items as the full-size product, but this is actually a mini version of the real Celestial Thunder palette. This one is going in my maybe pile. By Beauty Bakery, this came in my FabFitFun. See, a lot of these eyeshadows, like, I know it looks like I have a problem, but they come from subscription boxes. FabFitFun, this is the Beauty Bakery Proof is in the Pudding palette. This is so basic that I have these shadows everywhere else. I've used this only once and I was like, meh. So I will be getting rid of this one. Then I have 2 Storybook Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes that were again meh to me. And look, they're like so huge. I had them on display on my vanity because they do look really cute. But the thing is this does not go with the decor in my beauty room. It's like pink, teal, girly, modern. And this is kind of like I live in a library. So I will be getting rid of those palettes. Okay guys, we're almost there. Ace Beauty Blossom palette. I believe this was an add-on with FabFitFun or maybe BoxyCharm add-on. I love these like matte bright shadows. I just think this palette is so gorgeous. I've only used it once, but I want to give it more of a try. I wonder if any of you have actually reached this far in the video. I'm curious. Next is the Huda Neon palette in the green version. I got this over this past holiday when Huda was having another sale. This I have used once and it was a different look, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. But I've only used it once. I feel like I need to do a better, like brighter white base for my eyeshadow because these are such kind of like light pastels. Okay, I'm definitely going to keep this. Fenty Moroccan palette. This was a Christmas gift. This I have only used once, but I really do like how all the shadows kind of blend together and there are really some fun colors in here, so I'm going to keep this. Smashbox LA Cover Shot eyeshadow palette. I also got this over the Christmas season because there are a ton of sales that time of the year. I really love how they break down each like quadrant like into a look. Like this is like your bright look. This is like your warms. This is kind of like your in-betweens, your cools. I feel like you could take this like on a week trip somewhere and just kind of have 4 different looks within one palette. I love that about this. I have used this twice. Next palette is the Juvia's Nomad palette. This one I did by myself. This was also over the Christmas holiday. I think this thing was on sale for like $7. And these colors just speak to me so much. Like the mosses, the yellows. It's just warm, but like not your normal warm. It's like a warm, trendy warm. So I did like the looks I created with this. I've used it twice. Too Faced Palm Springs palette. This came in BoxyCharm. And it's one that I feel like I really didn't need to add to my collection. I feel like it's a beautiful palette and even the packaging's really nice. I've only used this one time. I know this is crazy, but I think I'm gonna get rid of this one. It's like not even 6 months old. I've used it once, but it just, like I said, I'm just not a huge fan of Too Faced lately. At least any of their new releases. Ace Scarlet Dusk. So guys, this Ace Scarlet Dusk palette, I feel like is giving me vibes from the other Ace palette. The Blossom Passion. I feel like these are very similar. Yeah, I feel like these are way too similar. I'm going to pass on the Scarlet Dusk palette because that one was just sent to me by BoxyCharm. I feel like this one I actually purchased on my own, so it means a little more. So that's a very new palette I will be giving away as well. Next is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. Volume 2, and I used it 2 times. This one's a decent palette. I definitely like her Volume 1 a lot more though. Hank and Henry Living in Color palette. This just came in BoxyCharm last month. I've swatched it, but I haven't used it yet. And I just feel blah about it. I just feel like browns, burnt orange, like some copper. There's a metallic purple with blue glitter in it, but I feel like I have that shade too. The shades even feel just maybe like a little dry. Ew, no, I'm gonna get rid of it. So I also just started getting into the Anastasia Norvina Volume palette. As you can tell on my channel, I've been doing a few reviews on them. Here is the Volume 2. I have just used this once because this is a new purchase. And yeah, I like the look I came up with. It was definitely like, I felt really inspired. These palettes just inspire me in general. Some really fun, different shadows in there that I don't have in my collection elsewhere. Too Faced Natural Nudes. This just came in a BoxyCharm as well. This one is pretty basic, but I just bought it so I want to play with it a little more before I decide what I want to do with it. Zoeva Caramel Melange. I don't even know what that is. Apparently I have used this. I don't remember using it. And again, I just feel like these shadows don't really speak to me that much. Too Faced Natural Nude. No, this is the Natural Matte palette that I showed you earlier. The Too Faced Natural Nudes palette is this guy. This one I purchased on my own with my own money, honey. And this one is so freaking pretty. Normally whenever I spend my own money on something and I pick it out, like it stays in the collection. It's whenever I get something from BoxyCharm, I'm like, wait, what? It doesn't feel personal and it's easier to get rid of. Studio Makeup Ease to Wear palette. This one just came in BoxyCharm and yeah, I actually really like this one. I have a feeling it's going to get lost in all my other nude palettes, but I'll keep it for now and see how it does in the next year. Anastasia Norvina Volume 4 Palette. So this guy, or not a guy, obviously. She looks beautiful. Actually, that's what I'm wearing on my eyes today. So we're definitely keeping her. At this point, these are all new palettes. I'm basically just showing off what I have. The last palette is my most recent purchase. It is the Impulsive palette by Melt Cosmetics. And this is a new brand I've never tried before that I am loving. So yeah. And it looks like there's a palette that never got put on the list because I have one palette left. And it's the Lorac Pro Beauties Who Brunch palette. It is a pastel palette. I had debated like the past 3 years on getting rid of this palette because the shadows are just kind of mediocre as far as their performance, but because it's my only pastel palette, I feel like I want to keep it just for that reason. Okay guys, let's take a look at our piles of makeup. So over here we have the getting rid of pile. Over here we have the maybe pile. And then the keep pile. I mean, it's still a lot of makeup, but hey, this is something, you know? Just working towards a goal. Okay guys, so we have finally wrapped up this video. That was a killer video, and like we just have to do it every year though because my makeup drawers have to be cleaned. And plus I just think I'm just kind of maybe slightly OCD, and I know that like people overly use that word when it's really not applicable, but I love making lists, and I love being like, oh, I use this palette this many times, and it's just fun to keep track of and just see like how many times you've really used your eyeshadow palettes in the past year. And it makes you think too, should I be spending as much money on eyeshadow? Okay guys, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great evening. I'll catch you on my next video. Bye!